guys. So actually it feels nice. I have the camera moved a little closer. I'm actually using my wide angle Olo clip on this today. I'm not even using the 5D Mark III, but I wanted to talk to you guys or show you guys what you should be doing for stretching after skating or after a workout. I look ridiculous. This is how I dress usually when I work out, and it's freezing in the gym. But we're gonna go over a few things to cover calves, cover quads, hamstrings, hips, low back, getting into a little bit of overhead movement as well, just to make sure we cover all the bases. Stay mobile after you get done skating, because we do dynamic warm-up beforehand, we do static stretching and mobilizations. This is also the time you do your tissue work and foam rolling and stuff like that, typically after, to improve recovery, reduce soreness, and so on and so forth. So it makes it easier for you guys to skate every day, or skate more often if you don't skate every day. When you do one, make sure you're doing it to an extent where you can stay relaxed. If you're tensing up and kind of tightening up other places, then you're actually eliminating or reducing the effectiveness of the stretch. It makes it a big difference. So I like to start bottom to top when I do my stretching, cover all my bases and kind of go through it almost like a checklist. So the first thing I always start off with is my calves. So I go through 2 stretches for my ankles or for my calves. I have my runner stretch, and then I have my half kneeling mobilization or ankle mobility. Runner stretch is pretty simple. Just kind of get into that push-up position. You'll have the leg extended back, and you'll naturally already try to have that heel pushed down the floor. So then when you go in to use the arms to sit the hips back, you'll feel that stretch more to the outside of the calf in the upper region. This is a spot that gets really tight from skateboarding and pushing. And so this will affect how well we can move if we don't recover, the tissue doesn't recover before we go skate again. So the next one is a half kneeling ankle mobilization. I'm just gonna go half kneeling, keep my heel down. I'm gonna take my knee straight over the foot, and I'll do a front shot for this one here in a sec. Keeping the heel down, I'm gonna try to find that limit that I can take that knee and go forward. So if I'm facing the camera, my knee is not inward from my foot is pointed straight, my knee is pointed straight, and I'm just going here and holding. So the next on the list, we start moving up. We actually will target the hamstrings and the quads in with a lot of the hip stuff. But going into, we have the elevated half pigeon. I just call it the elevated pidge. The half pigeon is normally a stretch we do like this, and it kind of can be tough to keep the hips straight forward, because that's really the important part on this one, is keeping the hips straight forward. So I actually have a box here. I'm gonna move it over just a little bit. And all I'll do is go into that similar position where I'll cross that foot and lay that leg flat, and then I'll come in and I'll go chest down and keep the hips straight, keep the shoulders straight, and come down and sit in this position to help open up that external rotation. Because this position where the leg is coming across this way, when we go to lift and scoop the trick, or even if you want to poke out, an ollie, this is my back foot, we have to really be able to put that foot and lean it in and suck that knee up, and so this helps open up that position. And then the next one is going to be the couch stretch, and that one can be a really tricky one. So I'm going to show you guys a couple different positions for this. So with the couch stretch, I actually have this stand here. Imagine this is your couch at home, and you have a cushion where you can set your foot on top of. But when you do it, you're going to try to get that shin vertical, stop sliding on me, to where it's really pulled tight and we really collapse that position on the knee. From here, we're gonna not arch the back, we're actually gonna kind of keep that hip pulled in and then lean in forward. So you're gonna pull all through the hip and then the quad and sit here and hold. Ideally, this is a longer stretch. You should be able to sit here anywhere from between 2 to 5 minutes, ideally, especially if you do a lot of sitting and driving and stuff like that. And then for those that have a lot of low back irritation, sometimes this over lean this way can actually really open up the ribs and everything. There's a muscle in there called the psoas, and this one ties in to the front of the leg, but it connects to the low back. And so people that have low back irritation, and it seems to never really get better, you do get massages, you have flexible hamstrings or whatever, the psoas can be a big culprit. I know maybe the viewscape isn't the best on this one, but the other position for the couch stretch can be done against the wall. And this is for those who are a little bit more limber, because this is a really tough position to get into. But you'll take your knee and you'll try to put it in the crevice so you can actually have that entire shin flat. And you'll go in and do the same thing where you'll sit up and back against the wall. Try not to arch the back. Get it to a position that you can manage and hold, but from here you do that same thing where we would try to lean into it, get that whole pull through the quad and the hip flexor. So for the hamstring, I don't like to do the like standing fold and touch your toes. I actually prefer the half kneeling hamstring, where you'll go into that position and you can let your hips sit down towards the floor, and you get a little bit more of a complete stretch throughout the hamstring, and it's a little bit easier to manipulate the tension and hold. This one's really good, and you can rotate the foot out, rotate the foot in a little bit to maybe target slightly different areas, but sit there and just hold for about a minute. The last one for the hips is for the TFL. I call this one the hooker hip, because I had this girl in my freshman year named Laura, and anytime she wanted to come and bug somebody for a little bit of extra lunch money, she'd come up and kind of do this thing where she'd put her arm on her shoulder and be like, "Do you have 50 cents?" And cross her leg over and push her hip out to the side and be really flirty with it. It was really kind of annoying, but I was really kind of a dork and really terrible with girls back in high school, and so I fell for it like almost every time. I'm sorry, Amanda, that's true. And so when we get into this, it's kind of similar. You guys may have seen this in the skate strength or the Skate for Life Project one I did on sciatica. I did with Jake and had him do, where basically you're going to go ahead and cross the foot over, and then you're going to push the hip out to the side. And I'm sorry you guys are going to have to look at my butt for this one, but when I do this, I don't cross behind, I cross forward, and then I'm going to keep that pressure into the rear foot, and I'm going to push that to the side. We're going to open up this hip here, and it makes a huge difference for availability of movement in that hip. If it's really tight wound up, if the hip wants to be laterally shifted, then it can really restrict our movement and how we load and how well our hips move. We have to make sure that we cover the inner thighs too, and a lot of times that can be done in a couple different methods. I usually do the can opener, at least that's what I call it, where I'll grab the arches of my foot with my thumbs, I'll pull my heels in as tight as possible, and then from here, I'll let my elbows go to the inside of the knees as I pull the toes in and I press the knees out, kind of in this frog position. If I were to be doing it in this manner and setting those hips in, this will help to open up that range of motion for the length on your flick. Now we're going to get into trying to free up the low back. The next one we have, I call the Hawaiian twist. It's kind of a position relative to the Hawaiian squat, where we're going to be in this position where we're ankle over knee, and that hip's going to be open, kind of similar like the elevated pigeon. So from here, I'm going to do this way. You'll keep that box in position, you'll keep the shoulder flat on the floor and the head back, but you're going to let that foot come flat to the floor. Hopefully there's not a punching bag in your way, and it'll help to open up some of that rotation in the low back. Just sit there, hold, and keep that hip open. Don't let it come down here. I'm going to show you guys a couple more stretches to help with that low back. And after the Hawaiian twist, we have just our standard crossover stretch. I'll cross, ankle over knee. What I'll do is I'll take my elbow on the outside of the knee, my hand will go to my hip, and then I'll just turn and rotate, helping to open up that rotation a little bit more. Make sure you turn the head with the shoulders, and you should feel a good pull coming through that low back. From there, we have the reverse scorpion, which is kind of the opposite, where rather than crossing over, I'm going to go ahead and have one knee up. I'm going to do opposite so you guys can see what's going on. Actually, no. Let's stay this way. Where I'm going to go here, and I'm going to actually rotate towards this side, going chest down, with trying to keep my knee up. So when I do this, this is keeping the hips in place as I try to rotate through the shoulders. And on this one, we don't actually hold, we'll actually alternate back and forth. This one I normally get a couple good pops out of my back when I do it if I'm really wound up. But do it about 8 to 10 times on each side. So really the last one, just to make sure we cover some range of motion with the shoulders, is your standard child's pose or down dog you'd find in yoga. With child's pose, you go kneeling, extend the arms as long as you can, and you sit back on the hips and almost kind of drag and get that tension through the lats and the underside of the shoulder, almost through the armpit basically, keeping the head down and holding there. The down dog is pretty similar, except you're gonna be here, and then you're gonna press the hips back and open up the shoulders, squeeze the shoulder blades together, and sit there and hold. And for some of you, you may feel that little bit of extra stretch in the calves, so it might be a good 2-on-1 that can help you guys out. So that's it with stretching. Listen to what I said in regards to each stretch and what you're trying to do. And if you guys want to see more stuff and more resources for skaters who may be like yourself, to be able to stay healthy and be able to do more with your health and being able to move better, then make sure you click like, subscribe to the channel, and comment on some content you'd actually like me to touch on. I hope to see you guys or hear from you guys soon. And yeah, take it easy.